It's time for Bullet Club Ass. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by the Ass Boys' biggest fan. It's Tempest.
Ass Boys 2023!
Luke's on holiday, and it just beautifully lined up with the week that Raw was excellent, and I got to review it. And AEW Dynamite had a closing angle with the Gun Club joining your beloved Bullet Club.
Well, you say my beloved Bullet Club because I loved Bullet Club when everyone else loved Bullet Club, and that was 5 years ago. But that does not mean that Colton and Austin Gunn potentially being aligned with Bullet Club in AEW does not Ralph Wiggum style break my heart, freeze frame. We'll talk about it, but of all the things to open Twitter to see this morning.
If you haven't already, please press the thumbs up button, press the subscribe button, leave a comment down below with what you think of ass. And also send in your OmegaChats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them over $5 while we discuss this closing angle and match. So it was Ricky Starks versus Jay White. I thought this was a fine match, but that sounds like I'm doing down on it. You know, you've got AEW main events, and they are typically a very high bar of either loads of blood or just crazy athleticism.
Yes.
This was more of a traditional old school wrestling match, but I loved it because I love that. And I love it when it's Jay White doing it.
Jay White is very good at that. In terms of it's funny because in the ring, I don't think of Jay White and MJF as being similar, but they're both people who utilize very old school elements of heel psychology to their advantage. It's just very different elements of it, but they both specialize in doing that incredibly well. It's just so funny to me because this feud still feels cold.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel like the hot main event angle. And when I saw this card for this episode of Dynamite, I thought for sure Swerve and Orange Cassidy was going to be the main event. I thought we were going to get a title change. We'll get into that. And then when they said Ricky Starks and Jay White is the main event of this show, I was like, well, that's interesting. Because I didn't think of this as necessarily a main event program, at least how it's been portrayed the last few weeks with a DQ finish, and the Juice Robinson Ricky Starks match was just kind of it was all right. And you go into this one, and it's it was a good match. It was totally solid. But again, the rivalry that is the package for this match just doesn't feel very hot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've said it for as soon as Jay White debuted. I was like, this is what you do with the guy? And Luke's like, oh, have some patience. I'm like, well, first impressions matter. And right now, I think we're still in this holding period. Well, you saw it with Adam Cole as well, I'd argue. You come into AEW, you go into a holding period feud until one of the other guys gets freed up from whatever plan Tony had 2 years ago for them. And I feel like now, it's quite clear by the Collision main event that was announced also on this show, which is FTR and CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson, that maybe Jay was being reserved for Punk. Something with Punk.
Yes. It feels very much like that. And I don't know when they came up with that idea. Obviously, we've heard that CM Punk is a fan of Jay White's work. I don't know if that is a recent development or if he's one of the guys that CM Punk would have watched when Jay White was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, because, of course, Jay White was a top star there. And you would probably think that the big main event matches that would draw the ire of someone like CM Punk would come during those years. But it's interesting because I don't know whether this plan was put in place a few weeks ago when Punk was like, I'd like to work with that guy, Tony. Or if it was okay, we need to give Jay White a first feud, give him a win over someone who's been here so that he can be a little bit established and then ready for CM Punk. So you don't just go right into it. I don't know which one of those I prefer, Because I agree. I think the first few months of Jay White being in AEW has been pretty solidly underwhelming. I would have thought he would be, at least treated like a top main event level heel who could pretty much immediately challenge for the world championship. Whereas right now he feels like a guy who would feel, in the mix for like a TNT championship, an international championship. And hopefully that changes, and I would imagine it would, considering a looming rivalry with CM Punk. You can't get much more main event status than that in this company. But it's just weird, this whole Ricky Starks, Jay White thing. Like, Juice Robinson was the guy feuding with Ricky Starks and all of it, and now he's just kind of become like an extra wheel in this feud, it feels like. I don't know, it's all a very weird dynamic, and I am hoping that once we get to Collision, then things make a little bit more sense, and that seems to be what we say in wrestling a lot during this period of the year, where it's, oh, we got to get through the WWE draft, and then things will be fine. Oh, and then we got to get through Double or Nothing, or the launch of Collision, or Forbidden Door. And there's always another thing. So let's just start making things make sense right now.
Well, I think I think with Starks and Robinson, if this happened this week without last week happening, I'd be like, But I thought last week their segment was so much fun when they were in the ring together with FTR, and they were really able to get over their characters in an in-ring segment, which is something they haven't been given the whole time, I feel since they arrived. That, finally getting to see do that on screen, plus this, where it is in the main event, where Jay White did get the win due to lots of interference, and having an act added, like a tag team added to their faction. And the tag team just so happens to be the Guns. It makes sense. It's the Bullet Club. And these are guns.
Pew, pew.
How did we not see this coming?
You know what would have also been funny? And this was from King of the North on Twitter. Put Big Bill in there and call him Bullet Bill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would have preferred that.
Let's start with the faction name and fantasy book the way backwards.
Yeah, that's how all great factions are started.
That's how we do a lot of our show development.
Yeah, but we're good at it. Yeah, so there is this bit, which the end of the match comes and Ricky Starks hits the Rochambeau, but knocks down the referee in the process.
Terrible positioning by the referee.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't like to pick on referees because I look at people criticizing Aubrey Edwards and I'm like, give it a rest. There's bigger fish to fry. But I'm getting more and more annoyed with Paul Turner's work, honestly, which is annoying. I don't want to focus on the referee.
Yeah. Unless it's Rudy Charles, in which case.
I have noticed, and this is a separate fact, but I've noticed he's probably the biggest 1, 2, hold up the count, and then they kick out referee in the company. And I've been able to notice that, which means it probably happens too often. But regardless, he was out of position, gets knocked down to the Rochambeau. And then with the referee down, the Ass Boys come down. They hit their flatliner 3D looking thing. I don't remember what their
310 to Yuma, it's called.
That one. And then
I'm a true fan of the Ass Boys.
Yeah. Gun Club 2023. Hey, I was right. They beat the Acclaimed. And then Jay White picked up Ricky Starks, hit the Blade Runner, and got the win. And we didn't get like a pose at the end of the thing.
No.
So I'm still like, well, are they in the group? Probably. Maybe they've just got some beef with Ricky Starks that we don't know about. Probably not. I would guess that they're just in the group, and that like next week they'll all come out and be like the newest members of the Bullet Club, the Guns.
So this is the thing. When that happened, when the Guns ran in, I was like, oh my God. You tried to make them happen with the firm. Like, in hindsight, a bad transitional title run that cooled off the Acclaimed, that sort of didn't really do anything for FTR. Just a bad idea. Didn't even elevate the Guns. Like, they just disappeared after that most of the time.
They had a cool entrance when they lost the belts. Yeah. That's all I can say for it.
So I wasn't enthused when it happened. And then the show ended and I was writing my notes and I was like, well, Gun, Bullet Club, yeah, that all works. And I started to think about, well, what do you do next? And yeah, it's like next week and they have the big segment where they get to do an insane promo. Austin, which one is it? Is it Austin or Colton who's the really good promo?
Probably Austin. I don't know.
The slightly shorter of
That's
the two.
Austin, yeah.
Yeah, so Austin is a great promo, I think. And I think he really knows how to control a crowd as well. Plus Juice Robinson and his like crazy promo skills. Jay White is sort of the, calm but dickhead one. Yep. I think there's the makeup of a really good heel faction here.
Sure. I think that that's totally plausible. My problem with the Ass Boys was, and has been, and probably will be until something changes, that when you ring the bell, people do not care. They, in my opinion, are an utterly unremarkable tag team in the ring. What they do can be done better than by many tag teams on the roster. And to me, and not everybody has to agree with this part, but to me, AEW is a very in-ring driven promotion. There are storylines for sure, and those storylines are often the best part of AEW. But if you cannot have a great match, I find that people lose interest in the crowd, and you go back to the Revolution 4-way tag match. When that match ended, there were crickets because people just don't care about these two, even when they were tag team champions. And when they won the tag titles, people were only chanting, but they were chanting, bull ass.
To the booking rather than
that. They're just, maybe this is what they need to be involved in another act that actually can be entertaining and isn't the Firm, but I just don't really see it. I would have liked to have had this act put together with people who will be like, oh, I can't wait to see an 8-man tag with them against somebody else or whatever. And I see the Guns get involved in another angle where I know I'm going to see them on TV every week again. And I'm just like, Tony, when are you going to learn?
Didn't you enjoy their promos then?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can discount the role of the Guns in getting over the Acclaimed. Because it wasn't just the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. It was also Austin and Colton being in those segments, being like really good comedy foils to the Acclaimed.
No, and that to me is totally fine. And I do think that there could be a place in the company for the Ass Boys. But I do think it's as like a comedy geek heel team. When they're running around with Ethan Page and the Hardys on Rampage, and they're getting beat by Hook so that Ethan Page is now in league with the Hardy Boys and doing some funny comedy bits, I think that's totally fine. The same way that, like, and this is not an exact comparison, but the same way that, like, I really enjoy what Matt Menard and Angelo Parker do in JAS, but if all of a sudden they then were like supposed to be this really credible tag team, it would take a lot more work than I think they've done with the Ass Boys to make me believe that.
If we never had, I mean, the Firm is like, I think the Firm could have been a thing still, although I didn't care for it at all. It never caught on. If we didn't have that transitional tag team title reign and the Guns were just beaten by the Acclaimed, and that's the end of that actually very well done story overall, I would say. And then, they just have the occasional match here and there. And then, boom, here they are. They're aligned with Jay White and Juice Robinson. Does that change your opinion of it?
Maybe. I don't know. It would be very difficult. I can't really say what I would think in an alternate world where the last year would be totally different. But I think looking at something where
all right, it was a crappy question.
No. It's a fine question. I'm just like, I really don't know how I would feel because, like, they gave them the tag titles, and I went on shows or whatever, and I went, this is a bad idea. And I still feel confidently in saying it was a bad idea and didn't work. So if they just didn't do that, would I be more confident that the next thing that they would do could work? Maybe, but that might be because of, like, my own ignorance to not having the information to be like, oh, here's some evidence of them not working as a top act. You know?
See, I see it as it's like when people feel over pushed, it tends to put me off them for a long time, usually forever afterwards. It never recovers for me. And I feel like the Firm, that was just a bad act.
Yeah.
But I felt like they were being appropriately pushed because of that organic getting over of the story with the Acclaimed. And then they won the belts. I was like, whoa, you have just massively overpushed them. And there was a backlash. And it didn't work. There was no follow-up, really. I feel like this is an appropriate level of push after the Firm push. I'm like, they're now the thirds for Jay White.
Yeah.
They've not got a title. As much as I want Jay White to be a bigger star, Bullet Club Gold is a mid-card act. That feels appropriate. The problem is they had that bit in the middle where they were just forced down everyone's throats.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that this very much could be the thing that the Ass Boys need, in that they get to be around Jay White. They get to be, in a smaller role, but still showcased as often.
Yeah.
Just they're not the focus of the segment. When they're the ones going out there and beating the Varsity Blondes on TV, I think that's just death TV. Whereas now they can be, secondary behind Jay White or Juice Robinson or whoever the focus of that act is going to be. And maybe that then will be able to get them to where they need to be if they're going to be showcased that much. But in the time being, I'm not going to be that excited about it, is the thing.
I am excited. Also, Death TV, it's not Death Jiu-Jitsu.
No.
That's another thing.
That's a different thing entirely and a much better thing. What did you think? We're going to read out some OmegaChats here, so make sure that you get those in. Support at WrestleTalk.com to have your message read out at $5 and above. This comes in from your local metalhead saying, nope, guns better stay away from Bullet Club Gold. Jay White and Juice Robinson don't need the Ass Boys. No stable needs the Ass Boys. Have literally anyone else join Bullet Club Gold. Keep the Ass Boys away from my favorite wrestler, Tony.
Should we do a poll if Mod Mother is in the chat?
Yes.
Do people want to see the... No, that's different. How should we phrase this? Are it's like, are people hopeful that this will get good? So I don't think this is good right now.
Sure.
But, okay, are you open to the idea...
Ass Boys in the Bullet Club, yay or nay?
Yeah, there you go. That's better. More succinct.
We'll see. Bonesaw Buck 823 says... I think it's supposed to say Oli, good to see you, but it says Oil, good to see you, and Man in the Mask. You're looking as scrumptious as always. Thank you, Regal. Always wanted to say that. While I agree, White hasn't been treated like the star he was in Japan, neither was Kenny in the beginning of AEW. Give it time, he'll get there.
But but that was also a huge mistake in hindsight. And we got bored Kenny for a year? Until he sort of went cocaine heel.
So I was always the one who liked that Kenny Omega was like kind of down on his luck when he started in AEW, because I was the guy being like, oh, he misses Coda.
Yeah.
Because I was that guy. But yeah, I mean, they point to that thing that a lot of people also didn't like at the time. I would argue probably the same people that were upset about that then are probably upset about this now.
Yeah, and it is a problem with AEW, for me at least. I mean, some people like it, but Keith Lee.
I was just gonna say that. How many people get brought in and then you wait weeks and then they do one match and a backstage segment for 3 more weeks and then you're like, oh yeah, they showed up.
Yeah. Who was it that he just lobbed out the ring?
Isaiah Cassidy.
Yeah, Isaiah Cassidy. I just remember that. I'm like, yes! And then nothing. And I get some of that is other circumstances, but...
Yeah, it's something they could maybe work on. Charles Berg says, you've heard of Machine Gun Carl Anderson. Well, get ready for the assault rifles. Austin and Colton Gunn. Enjoyed the MJF and Cole promo. That should be a fun match. But the winner of said match is unfortunately pretty obvious. Hope everyone's doing well. We'll see.
I certainly think Samoa Joe, Jay and Juice could win that with interference from the Guns. That way you get an FTR Guns match. Wait, was that what they were building? God, no, not again. FTR versus if the heels are victorious there, then you can have White and Robinson challenge FTR for the titles.
Mhm.
I think that's a route they could go. Also, Charles Berg. I didn't think you were going to go for that assault rifle. I thought you were going to go for Machine Bum.
Oh, that's good. The Machine Bum. That's very good. I also think he was talking about the MJF and Cole match that we're getting next week.
Oh, I
could be wrong,
I
but-
see. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my bad.
But we will see. Streamlabs has lost a username here, so make sure that you send our mods a message to get your name read out. It says, seems like the point of the Guns title run was to get the belts back on FTR while keeping FTR as faces so they can put Punk with them. The Guns being with Jay and Juice could be the thing to actually give them a real push. I think that all of that is mostly true. I think it was more a matter of like, well, we probably don't want FTR to beat the Acclaimed. I think there's other ways that they could have done all that.
I think you could have had a genuinely good babyface versus babyface match out
Yeah.
of those two. I don't get why they were so reluctant for FTR to be the ones to beat the Acclaimed.
Yeah. I don't know either. But that is all of the ones about the Bullet Club and that current situations. We will get into the rest of your Omega chats at the end of the show. So keep sending those in to support at WrestleTalk.com at the $5 and above limit.
Yeah, it is. Is it support? What did you say? Support
at WrestleTalk?
Yeah, that is. WrestleTalk.com/support.
That's the one.
Yeah. I think you got an email merged
I
into
stopped
that.
doing Ultra chats, Usi chats on the SmackDown podcast. My brain has turned to mush.
Did you hear what Dan Layton tried to call
I did.
the Raw version?
Yeah.
Natty chats or Ultra Nats.
Nats.
After Natalya, the greatest wrestler.
Yay!
I'm cautious about pushing that joke because it's obviously mean-spirited, but also I don't want to accidentally do that thing Cultaholic occasionally do, where they get over to mean it.
Yeah.
I don't want that
Don't
to happen.
hinder gender. I the day that Natalya turned the corner for me is when I realized that when she goes to the middle rope and goes like this, she doesn't go, yeah, she goes, yay. I was like, I don't think she's real. She's an AI. Anyway, this show had a banging opening match.
Great opening match. It was Orange Cassidy versus Swerve Strickland. I agree with you. I thought this was going to main event. But it is kind of Dynamite tradition now. The international title opens things up. It was just a really good match. They started... It's like they've already had the first third of the match.
Yeah.
And they just picked up right from the Battle Royal. So they're going a million miles a second. Really good reversals throughout. Just like they did a spot where Swerve had Cassidy up in an electric chair and they spilled outside over the top rope for them both to still be in the electric chair.
Yep.
And then I think Cassidy hit a Hurricane Rana thing on it.
Yeah.
Oh!
How do you do that without breaking a leg? Because I've seen a lot of people go over the top rope, like when they try and do the suplex spot to the outside and they still end up in the suplex position and really hurt themselves. This was so impressive. I love these two guys. I'm not going to be shy about it. I thought Swerve was going to win this match. We will see how the rest of Orange Cassidy's reign goes. But if Swerve was the one to win the International Championship, I would have no qualms with that whatsoever. That didn't happen on this night. And I'm not going to say that was a bad choice because I don't know where we're going. But I would have liked to have seen Swerve win.
I think everyone was like, yeah, Swerve is amazing. This has been a great title run so far. Orange wouldn't lose anything by losing. Everyone's got respect for him now. Not that they didn't before, but it's just been like another level this whole title run. But as the match kept on going on, and Orange's selling was so good because it's kind of like Ishii sells without, letting you know he's selling. Cassidy's in a similar predicament in that his whole gimmick is, I don't want to look like I care. But that meant he really looked like he cared.
Yeah.
This guy's meant to be so cool and aloof. Actually, this international title means the world to him, I think. And when he looked a bit panicked at point. He was on the top rope. He was like that. I think Shivani pointed that out. And there was another bit when he was just getting so beaten up and he was on the apron and he looked sad. I really started rooting for the guy.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want his title run to end.
Well, that's what you should want in a baby face, right? It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And this, to me, is maybe the best version of the babyface champion defends the title week in, week out, and gets further and further broken down by various injuries that he suffers, because the hand injury has been a running theme throughout his title reign. He was having a back injury and selling that. There were so many different elements of his selling that ultimately are done to protect the babyface when he inevitably loses, because eventually it's just not his day and there are too many things stacked against him, and you can absolutely just pull the trigger on somebody beating him and both guys look great because of it. But I guess that means you could still have matches like this that really get people so all the way into it and turn people, even on the day, like, because I'm not immune to it. I was watching going like, God damn, Orange Cassidy's amazing, as I do most weeks. I just really wanted Swerve to win, but that's fine. It was such a good, fun match with really good near falls too. Like Swerve, he goes for the house call and he misses, and then Orange Cassidy hits the beach break, and I thought that was it. And then Swerve kicks out of that, and we go a little bit further, and Swerve ends up hitting the house call and sets up and hits the Swerve stomp. And then I thought that one was it. And Orange Cassidy kicks out. You get a great shot of Swerve's face after that. And then Orange Cassidy manages to get it with a roll up, where both of them were just rolling through each other's roll-ups and grabbing the tights, and finally Orange Cassidy rolls him up and holds onto the tights and gets the win.
Yeah.
Fantastic opening match. People were losing their minds. This is awesome chants.
Good crowd.
Great crowd, I thought, for this show.
Colorado,
Springs.
yeah, the most boring place, according to MJF.
He's never been to... I'm not going to say something mean. I was about to just name a random city, but I'm just like, nah, I don't want to be a heel.
I buried Milton Keynes.
That's fair. Milton Keynes has a Tim Hortons, so they have a little bit of brownie points with me.
With this going on, because I really thought Swerve's the guy who's going to do it.
I did too.
And I'm really surprised that I'm not sick of this title run, considering how over Roman Reigns' runs I was at some points in his 1,000-day reign, how definitely done I was with Jade Cargill after a while. They've been booked completely differently, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. But we're 23, 24 in? That's a long undefeated streak for the championship. So it becomes I've usually been in the position, because it's not been booked well, of okay, I'm cheering for the opponents now.
Right.
But I really do feel like I'm still rooting for the babyface, which does mean you probably do want to get the title off of him soon.
Before you lose that. Which is, I think, what happened with Bianca at a certain point.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm looking at Collision. I do something big. I think changing the international championship there. Miro coming back.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, could well be. I mean, I think there's a number of factors that I think go into play with something like this being as good as it was. And I think it's just because he is wrestling so much more frequently on TV than Jade Cargill was. Certainly more than Roman Reigns has been, but that goes without saying. And the matches are always great. Like, when you know that you've got a champion where almost every week you are virtually guaranteed just like a 15-minute awesome match for the title, it makes it so easy to enjoy a title reign. And that, to me, I think they did that with the first Cody TNT title reign. There's been so many of those, just open challenge style title reigns that I think are so much fun. And when you've got the just wide range of great wrestlers like AEW does, it's one of the things that they can do. Because how many times do we say, I would really wish we could have seen this singles match at some point yet?
Swerve and Keith Lee.
Sure. And they're being kept separate for some big match and whatever. And I thought maybe Swerve was going to win this, and then we would get the title match between him and Keith Lee, but whatever. It is really nice to just be able to see Orange Cassidy fight everyone on the roster. Somewhat side note, I'm wondering where we can kind of go next, because I don't know if we're getting Swerve and Keith Lee at any point in the near future. I'm tired of beating that drum. I would like to see some version of the Moguls facing House of Black for the trios titles.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Just seeing Swerve and Malachi Black. What year is it? Good Lord. But Swerve and Malachi together in the ring. I think that's a very fun pairing.
And there's House of Black are tweeners. So it's definitely a dynamic you could do. Speaking of the Embassy, as soon as the match was over, the Embassy ran down, started beating up Alan. Sorry, not Alan Cassidy. Lights cut out, come back up. And yet, like, I didn't think it was going to be a surprise debut or something because Sting had returned last week to save him.
I thought it might have been someone from New Japan to challenge Orange Cassidy. Like, save him and be like, I want that. You know, but...
Sabre Jr.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that'd be really fun.
That'd be really fun. I like that idea.
So yeah, Darby and Sting saved him, and we had Swerve and the Embassy versus Cassidy, Alan, Sting, and a random Keith Lee for next week's show.
Yeah,
8-man tag.
58% positive on Bullet Club.
Bullet Club ass.
Bullet Club ass.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, Keith Lee is. You know, whatever, we've said all this. He really should have had a singles match with Swerve by now.
Like 2 pay-per-views ago.
But, I mean, I'll touch on it now. It applies to Jungle Boy later. Darby Allin. Off the back of a co-main event, world title shot at the pay-per-view, a fantastic 4-way. He is essentially playing third fiddle to a Cassidy feud.
Yeah. Which is strange to me. Now, I have been trying to fantasy book my dream card for Forbidden Door and such. But this is really an example, and maybe you couldn't do it because Dominion was just this past weekend, so you've got, like, you know, a week where you kind of have to wait. But I badly want to see Darby challenge Hiromu for the junior title.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is something that you kind of want to set up as soon as possible, just to make Darby Allin feel as relevant as possible, as opposed to, like you said, just playing like third fiddle in an Orange Cassidy and Sting against some... I don't even know why they've got a beef with Swerve and everything. Like, they had a match on Dynamite like a few months ago, but I haven't really heard of any other Darby and Swerve feuds since then. So... I don't know. I'm looking forward to like whatever we get next with Darby, but I would like for them to get there because there's only a few weeks until Forbidden Door. You know, if he even has a match on Forbidden Door, who knows?
A lot of people to satisfy there.
Yeah.
It can't all be singles matches.
Imagine. Give me 15 matches with an 8-hour card. I'd watch it.
No. Blackpool Combat Club then took on an iteration of Chaos, which was Rocky Romero, Trent, and Chucky. This was a really fun match.
I loved this match.
Particularly for Danielson on commentary, who is just sublime. Sort of trash-talking Okada, who is his Forbidden Door opponent, of which Chaos is his faction. And also just pointing out, you know, they shouldn't be hugging right now. Why are they going for the pin? And Blackpool Combat Club were amazing. And Claudio uppercutted Trent while he was doing a moonsault to the outside.
I wept. I wept.
That was an excellent spot.
I love seeing any iteration of Best Friends against the Blackpool Combat Club, just because you have like the Wheeler Yuta dynamic. They feel, I mean, they're never going to beat the Blackpool Combat Club, and if they do, it'll be a momentous occasion. People will throw babies in the air. But it, to me, is like a really good through line for the Blackpool Combat Club, because you really do just get to see whatever other dynamics you want going on at the time. But there's always something tying Wheeler Yuta into everything else, because he can kind of feel like, you know, the other guy in just a trios match, because Moxley's established and Claudio's established. And you've got Yuta, who's in the group for sure. But in this, he gets his own character defining act present as well. It was just a really great little match. Oh, I love Roppongi Vice. I love the Best Friends. I love the Roppongi Best Friends. Fantastic stuff.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about Trent and Rocky in all this. I just see Trent and Chucky now. Of course, Blackpool Combat Club won with loads of elbows and was it a choke as well.
Mox choked out Rocky while Wheeler was doing the hammer and anvil elbows to Chuck, and he kept going afterwards, and Moxie was like, all right, kid, good job, you killed him enough.
The Bucks and Hangman Page are then backstage, and they say, I think Hangman Page said, good match, I'm sure we didn't watch it. thought he came across a bit wanky. And then they challenged the Blackpool Combat Club for next week's show in Washington, D.C., which was the site of the first ever Dynamite. And Danielson said, great, that's where you guys had your first ever national TV match. Next week's going to be your last.
Every little line that he had, like, he did one little line about in the promo package before where they're talking about Okada, like Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, or somebody says that Okada's like a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and Bryan Danielson just immediately sits down and says, why aren't you saying that about me? You don't think I'm a once-in-a-lifetime talent? I'm going to show you that I'm better than Okada ever has been.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a 5-minute promo, but just in one line at the beginning and end, he's so fantastic.
We got a Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega video package for their match at Forbidden Door. Like, that Forbidden Door already feels so much bigger than last year's.
Yep.
I'm very excited because I was, very vocally down on it last year. It was too long. None of the matches felt satisfying. Loads of multi-men stuff, loads of injuries. But this...
It was a cursed show.
Yeah, it was a cursed show, but I don't know how good it would have been even if it wasn't cursed. I don't know. Maybe that's unfair to say.
I think it would have been more memorable and amazing than it was, because I thought it was a very good show. But like, imagine if like Ishii is in that 4-way, and you're getting Ishii and Malachi and Miro and Pac and everything.
Well, it's still a great match.
Yeah, and Hiromu's on the card, and XYZ injuries don't happen on the show. But like, I do agree. Put Okada in a singles match. Obviously, this one has the benefit of like Kenny Omega being present for it, which is a luxury that last year's just didn't have. Again, ditto Bryan Danielson, probably ditto Punk. Those are probably your 3 biggest stars in the company. Argue about whoever else is on that list, but those 3 weren't on the show last year, and if they're on this show, that already just takes it to another level above where it was.
It's quite a dense segment, and we'll try and clip through it as quickly as possible. But MJF came out next, called Colorado the most boring place in the world, and he's an authority on boring because he's bored of the competition AEW is serving him. And that was a perfect cue up for Adam Cole. Adam Cole came out. We'd all speculated this for ages. He'll be the next World Championship challenger, beat Chris Jericho, so he's got that momentum there.
Feels like that is done, which is
yeah. Then MJF did this excellent job cutting a promo building up Adam Cole, which, to be honest, did a better job building up Adam Cole than that entire Jericho feud, than pretty much anything in AEW so far, other than the actual debut.
I think the run from All Out to Full Gear for Adam Cole, where he was just Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, these douchebag dickhead heels, Adam Cole's back in the Elite, and he's having great matches on Dynamite. I think that was a good time for him.
It was a good time.
And then I think once he got into the Orange Cassidy feud that just kept going, people got tired of it. But I do think that like 8 weeks of his first run, I give them more credit than I think they've been given lately. When Adam Cole showed up and he cut that first promo at his first match the following week with Frankie Kazarian, it felt like, why wasn't this guy in major arenas like for the last 4 years when he was in NXT? Like, he's this mega star. And then it just kind of tapered off and he lost his matches with Hangman Page and it just kind of kept, and he got hurt, It was difficult, but I do think this promo was very much the rehab that he needed.
Yeah. So first off, Max said, well, when CM Punk up and left me as a kid, because, Baker.
It's crazy hearing his name again.
I know, right? Yeah. I've got, like, they've said it on TV. Yeah. But it was just shocking to hear like a character say it. He said he felt like his fandom was over, but then he was flipping around on TV one night, came across Ring of Honor, and then he just buried Ring of Honor. So it's a bunch of indie guys, had no interest in them. But then I saw this one guy with piercing blue eyes, and it was Adam Cole. And he said he was instantly hooked, watched him go to Florida, shock the system over there, become Shawn Michaels' hand-picked guy, called him the best world champion in that promotion's history, and then just talked up how amazing Adam Cole was. And even said back in, he used to look up to Adam Cole and model his career, like study him. And have you seen that Instagram post?
I don't think so.
So someone found an Instagram post that Max had made in 2016, and it's a little collage of Chris Jericho, Tully Blanchard, I think Chris Candido, and Adam Cole. And it says, like, the caption is, to be the best, you got to study the best.
Wow.
And, you know, it's like he's booking his dream feuds based off his social media history with the CM Punk photo as well.
Yeah.
But that was a really nice detail. But then he said, then you stepped into this company. And I was like, who's this guy? This is not the guy. And that rang true. Rang true for me. I don't know if it rang true for everybody else. And he just talked about how he's out of shape. He plays Twitch all the time, gone from Panama Playboy to Panama Game Boy. Company does everything it can to get Cole over.
Love this bit. This callback section of the promo I thought was delicious.
Oh, so the music, the girlfriend, and then going into the Vince stuff.
No, well, like this bit where he says, like, this company's giving you everything to make you a star, the cool music, the lights, the girl, all they need to do to make MJF feel like a star is ring the freaking bell, which it was like word for word what Adam Cole had said to Karrion Kross on NXT.
Was it?
You didn't realize this?
Oh, I didn't know that.
People share this promo on Twitter like every other week.
Oh, great.
It was... I realized what he was doing once he got to and what do they have to do to make MJF feel special? I was like, oh my God, this man is amazing. What a callback.
Oh my God. Phenomenal. That's why he is the best promo, as we decided on Herd Mentality last night.
You only say that because Eddie Kingston's not on TV. Go watch Herd Mentality on No Holds Barred over on partsFUNknown.
But then Max, it's classic Max promo. I never get bored in them. I know some people think they go on a bit too long. But then he goes into, he heard a rumor that someone else in another company thought you weren't good enough to be a top star. And I was like, oh, right, yeah. And then he just went, that person's name was Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Oh, he said it. He
said
the name.
I'm sure there's maybe a legal reason why he couldn't say, oh, you were down in NXT. It was like, you were down in Florida. You're also under Vince McMahon.
I think it's intentional. I think he was on purposely not. I mean, he said Shawn Michaels' name, I suppose, but it was a way to like say, I'm not going to mention the other company, waiting for the right moment. To then say Vince McMahon, and then he looks in the camera and he's like, big fan.
Yeah.
What a way to get heat.
Yeah.
And he says now he's standing opposite Adam Cole. He agrees with Vince.
It was a hell of a promo.
Yeah.
Gotta say. I've seen a lot of criticism of this segment, just kind of feeling like, and I do see it because I thought the same thing when I was watching it, but it didn't really bother me too much, is that we see this style of MJF promo fairly often, where we saw it with Ricky Starks, we saw it with CM Punk, where MJF talks for a lot, and then it's the other person's turn, and then MJF will probably get the last word in, and if not, then he'll kick them in the balls, or the other guy will get one more line, or something like that. And I do see it. Maybe they could use a little bit more like variance in their presentation, but he is the master of this right now. And it's very difficult for me to get bored of just hearing great wrestling promos, especially because I like to tell myself, like, go back to before AEW existed, and there just weren't any great promos. You had all the WWE scripted promos and Alexa Bliss being called Biscuit Butt on TV for like 10 straight weeks by Mickie James. I'm not going to complain when it's like, oh, I would like if the presentation would be changed up a little bit.
Yeah. 20-minute promos got a bad name with the authority and everything, but when they're like this, I do not mind them at all. Yeah. So Cole's rebuttal was... he had some good lines. I thought nowhere near the level of what Max was saying, but they were good lines. Said, what's your obsession with other people's girlfriends? Maybe it's because your fiance left you. Oh, real life.
Ooh.
And he says, well, you talk about my body. Why don't we go backstage right now? Piss into a cup. Oh.
I didn't realize that this was something that was floating around.
Yeah. So obviously what he's doing there is implying MJF is taking steroids.
He's on the gas. He's juicing.
Which is Yeah, he even said, see who's natural. So I was like, oh, okay. I get, that could definitely be a character thing. You could pretend Max is on steroids.
Sure.
Plays into that. I want to go to WWE sports entertainment. Physique is the most important thing mentality. But I was a bit like, oh, it's a weird thing to.
It was a strange
for
line.
AEW to do.
But yeah.
And then said, no one respects you. And he got the crowd chanting against Max. The crowd were very on board with the babyface heel dynamics. MJF said that's tough talk from Keith Lee's manager, which is such a deep cut.
Yeah.
That was like one report 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
But then this was the reveal, which I think makes the whole segment really good. That Cole says, look, if you were a real world champion, you wouldn't be doing all these put downs now. You'd say, I'll fight you right now. Then Cole walks off. And it's like the act of this person that Max pretends he doesn't want the acceptance of, but really, really, really does. As soon as that happens, Max is like, I'll fight you.
Yeah.
And it was an actual babyface tricking the heel into accepting the challenge.
That is exactly the takeaway I had while I was watching it, where I watched it and I went, a smart babyface.
Yeah.
Babyface had a goal in mind when he came out and got exactly what he wanted out of this. Smart. And I really, again, one of the things that stands out to me in promos like this, where they can feel maybe a little bit similar to other ones that MJF has done, is that in this promo, like we've seen in a few, when something really does bother Max, he becomes like one of the most interesting characters in the company. And it might only be for a little chunk of time right at the end, but it's enough to just like, ooh, all of a sudden it hooks me. Because I think by far that's the most interesting stuff that MJF does.
Because he's actually a very broken man underneath all this bravado. Remember when they took off the mask and he had the black eyes from the Danielson match?
Yep.
The mask has slipped. He wears a devil mask. He is, oh my God. It is just... I'm in awe of that guy. He's like the Spider-Man across the universe of wrestlers.
Oh, yeah?
Just constantly in awe of how good he is.
We were talking about this movie before we started the podcast. Like, it was at like 2-1, go live. And we're like, okay, all right, let's talk about the Ass Boys.
Another nice touch after Max was like, well, yeah, we'll have a fight. And they've got this championship eliminator match next week. Big deal. Max doesn't wrestle singles matches on TV a lot. That's when Adam Cole does the Adam Cole Bay, because Max had stopped him from doing that earlier.
It's a little staging thing.
Yeah.
And I've started to notice it more as I've gotten older, where like if MJF comes out to somebody's music and it's like, haha, I tricked you, whatever, they're probably having a special entrance, as that was the way to give the live crowd a chance to hear the song that they've paid to see. Like the CM Punk entrance at Revolution, like he comes out to Cult of Personality so they can sing Cult of Personality, and then they do the other entrance so they still give the people what they want. Where MJF can now take away Adam Cole's catchphrase at the end of the segment, gives it to you anyway, so everybody who goes to the show goes home happy.
Yeah. Brilliantly done.
Yeah.
I think Cole, got the worst of it in the exchange, but I think it was kind of needed to address all these lackluster feelings with Adam Cole, and hopefully they can grow from here.
Yeah.
Hardy Party backstage, they introduced Ethan Page as their new faction member, but Matt doesn't want to abuse him. He wants to make him a better man.
I think this is going to lead to Ethan Page like being rehabilitated, and his nickname after the fact will be No Ego Ethan Page.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, what, like Matt Hardy will do a sort of...
We'll give him a lobotomy or something.
Yeah, I was going to say like more like a spiritual enlightenment, broken thing. Yeah, that'd be fun. They're all really good comedy. Well, Ethan's a really good comedy performer. Yeah. Honestly, this next match was my match of the night.
Yeah?
Caught me out of nowhere like a freight train. Hook and Jungle Boy taking on Preston Vance and Dralistico. And really what it was Hook and Preston Vance.
Yeah.
They just beat the crap out of each other. It was a tornado tag. I don't know if it must have been no DQ.
Yeah. It was no DQ, no count out, and no tags.
And like Preston Vance immediately is bleeding everywhere. Like not just over his face, but over his body. He's got a great look anyway. And Hook is so cool. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this match.
Yeah. This was one of the things where they would do kind of matches like this, like kind of fairly often during like the pandemic era where they just did like the Young Bucks against Butcher and the Blade in the Falls Count Anywhere match one week.
Or here's Joey Janela doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
Joey Janela, like the bunkhouse brawl match with Dustin and QT Marshall with the Butcher and the Blade. They're very good at taking a match that on paper just kind of looks like maybe not the hottest thing going right now, and making it just a buck-ass wild match with tables and blood, and Hook hits him with a chain, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely just a blast. And you can just have one of these like really fun, bombastic matches to just spruce up a show like this. Because you can do it with like anybody, basically. You know, I thought that it was going to be the trios match on this show would fill that role. But then this one went out and was even crazier. This was a lot of fun.
I just want to put two things over. Preston Vance's discus clothesline on the outside was just perfectly hit. And then Hook and Vance are on the apron and are sort of battling against each other. Jungle Boy, like, I don't think it was an unprotected chair shot to the head, but it looked like it.
He got him.
Yeah.
Like, it looked solid.
And that allowed Hook to just hit this exploder suplex through the table on the outside. It was just such a well-done sequence, and that led to the finish. So, yeah, takings from that. Commentary are putting over Jungle Boy and Hook as one an exciting young team. This is really bad follow-up to me from where they were at 2 weeks ago at Double or Nothing. Like, this is Jungle Boy's gone from here to here.
Yeah.
But trying to find positives. Jungle Boy is getting more violent. And that was the long-term character story they were telling with that chair shot here. Yeah, what's your thoughts? Do you think he's going to turn heel on Hook?
I don't know if he's going to turn heel on Hook, but I definitely feel like some sort of character shift is coming because his music hit and I did not hear a big pop. And this was a crowd that was pretty into most things on the show. And, you know, there were people still doing this and singing the song and everything. But when the music started, I felt, wow, like Double or Nothing really cooled off Jungle Boy, like kind of exposed him and that sort. But if he continues down the path that he's on, I don't know if the people will accept him as a violent babyface. So he may need to turn heel, and Hook is someone that the people will side with, so I could certainly see that happening. It's just very funny to me that we started the year with Jungle Boy being like, look, I like Hook a lot, but I'm doing it myself this year, and I'm going to win singles gold. And now it's like, that didn't really work out. Let's put them back together.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like a step backwards for Jungle Boy.
A little bit, yeah.
Hair versus hair match.
Oh, God. I don't want either of them to lose.
No.
That's some real stakes.
But,
Can
you know,
imagine?
Jungle Boy shaving that head of his. That's how you freshen up the gimmick, maybe. But what is he without that hair? He's like
I don't
Samson.
know.
Tony Khan had his latest announcement, which was the Collision main event. We've already discussed that. Samoa Joe, Jay White, Juice Robinson taking on CM Punk and FTR. Exciting. Hopefully Punk won't break his foot in that six-man. Takeshita came out with Don Callis with the footage of Kenny Omega being betrayed by Don, not just playing during the entrance, but for the entire 2-minute squash match as well. A guy called Damon Ace. Takeshita beat him easily. And then Don got on the mic, said the same stuff as last week. He's going to cut the Elite out like a cancer from All Elite Wrestling. Got loads of heat again.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Simple, easy, quick, effective. I love Takeshita. I love Don Callis. I love this act. I want more Titantron videos to be like this, to show me the action. Yeah. This has been a common thing I've been saying lately, where I want more proper Titantron videos. And I was like, oh, there's one. Make them all like that.
But make some people. Make some fan versions on YouTube and set them to the music and stuff for us.
My favorite thing to watch in like 2010.
Christian Cage came out of his locker room. There was noises coming from inside the locker room. Alex Marvez is outside with a microphone. And it was Luchasaurus beating up Brock Anderson as a message to Arn Anderson.
for having cost Christian the ladder match at Double or Nothing. I thought this was good. I don't know if this just means that Christian and Wardlow are going to keep going, or maybe Arn is going to have like a different client that's going to, spin off into an Arn versus Christian sort of rivalry. I don't know, but I mean, Christian's great. I thought it was a good little segment, other than Alex Marvez going into the room and being like, "Oh, we need help. Hey, doctors, trainers, somebody help." I was like, this man is dying. He's bleeding. He's been beaten up by a dinosaur.
Yeah, he did. I felt like he could have looked more beaten up, considering all the noises. I remember the glory days of Lance Archer just lobbing people into the ceiling. Imagine if Brock was just half through a wall and it was just his legs.
When Lance Archer put that guy in the garbage can.
Oh,
those were the days. They weren't. It was the pandemic, but it was, funny.
Well, that's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. There was some stuff in the pandemic that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling presentation-wise, of course. Chris Statlander versus Anna Jay came up next. This was Daddy Magic was out there to help Anna Jay. Bit of interference. Anna Jay got a lot of the match, a lot like the previous week's match. Who was she against? Who was Statlander against last week? Nyla Rose. But Statlander fought back, won at the end, Tombstone. Taya Valkyrie's upset backstage.
The people were very into this match. They were with it. And I think this TBS championship has been given a shot in the arm that it desperately needed. I think Chris Statlander is just great. I was a big naysayer of hers when she showed up, like originally at the start of AEW, but it was just kind of because I hated the boop on the nose thing when people were actually selling it. I couldn't handle that. That was my limit.
That was your line.
That was my limit. I was like, this is stupid.
Oh, cool.
Everything else is fine. This is stupid. But she is a great, great wrestler. And Anna Jay has been like kind of hit and miss at times. She's learning, obviously. But she's had some really great matches. She had that one Rampage street fight match. She had a match with Jade that was very good. I thought this was another one of her better performances.
I actually really like Anna Jay. I think she's got a charisma about her. Just solid win. More of the same as last week. Tony Storm and Ruby Soho cut a promo on whoever wins the Rampage 4-way #1 contenders match for the women's championship. I think it's Britt Baker, Sky Blue, Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah. It's someone else.
Effectively, it's Britt Baker. Yeah. But maybe they take her out.
Sure.
And then, it's Sky Blue versus Tony Storm.
Yeah.
'Cause she's embroiled in that. Going back.
I do have one thing to say about this, and I think it has now been 2 weeks since we've had a new women's champion crowned, and they have not been shown in front of the people yet. I think that is appalling. But, that is your top women's champion. I get that you want to put Chris Statlander on TV, and it's not one or the other. Have both of them on TV. You don't have to have just one women's segment.
We've only got 15 minutes for the ladies.
Clearly. But, why have we not seen Tony Storm have a match yet? Or just a promo, do a championship celebration with,
that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Something like that.
The Outcasts out there healing up, spraying something green. Loads of green balloons. Yeah.
Anything. They've got big portraits of Tony Storm winning, and they've spray painted over Jamie Hayter. Something like that. I don't know.
And after that, we got the main event, which was Starks versus Jay White, which we already talked about and was very good, especially the final angle. Overall, I thought this was a solid show. I gave it a 75%, I think.
I think that's about right. If I was to give it out of 10, I would probably give a 7 out of 10 score here. It was some really fun stuff. I really liked the trios match. I liked the tornado tag. Liked the women's title match. Really liked the opener. Main event was fun, but wasn't a whole lot on this show that I'm gonna remember. The standout moments on this show were basically just the ass boys. And we were talking about this when we were coming up with what we were going to lead with on this. And Max's promo. I guess that is true. I forgot about that. Yeah, that would be probably number 1 ahead of the ass boys. But yeah, solid show.
Weirdly, because I reviewed Raw this week, I gave that 79%.
Wow.
So I'm in a strange position here where I enjoyed Raw more than Dynamite. By the numbers.
Incredible.
Before we get into your Omega chats, we've got Patreon shout out to do. Go over to Patreon, patreon.com/WrestleTalk, because not only is there loads of exclusive content from WrestleTalk and partsFUNknown, but we've got the latest episode of No Holds Barred Uncut up there, and next week's episode for early access.
Listen, I said this on Twitter yesterday. There have been some very great times to become a Patreon at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. I think now might be the best because you will get a week's early access to this episode of No Holds Barred. That's Wavelength. And you people simply must watch this episode because of my good friend, Daniel J. Layden. That's my plug. Watch it. It's fantastic.
It's one of the most controversial things I've ever seen happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Their opinions were had.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for more people to watch that episode. You should sign up today if you haven't already. But if you're signed up at the $25 and above tier, you get your own custom wrestling nickname read out on a show just like this. So a big shout out to the Black Plague, Butch Rosser. Yeah.
I'm just going to move these into the middle so I can see them. The Venerable Jesse Venable.
Yeah. The Cleaner, Kenny Shaw. Yeah.
The British Bulldog, Philip Boy J. Smith Jr.
Yeah. WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez. Yeah.
He can last Sean for longer than you in the ring.
Yeah. Starbucks, Steven Costa. Yeah.
Shield Maiden, the Zornice.
Yeah. The Taco Man, Tomas Hernandez. Tomas Hernandez. Yeah.
The Redacted One, Jake.
Yeah. Will, the MS Warrior Stewart. Yeah.
He ran. I ran, her ran. I couldn't get away.
You're a film guy. I would imagine you would have seen La La Land.
Yeah, well, that's what I think of weirdly.
That's every time I think of it. Yeah. That's what I think of every time I hear that song. Thank you very much to all of our Pledgehammers, of course, but especially to you $25 and above patrons. We're going to get into the rest of the Omega Chats here. This is the final call. Ding, 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 ding for your Omega Chats. So get the last of them in, I suppose, to WrestleTalk.com/support.
That's the one.
Read them out at the $5 and above dollar amount. Whatchamacallit. Mitch Gilliam has been a member for 5 months in a row, saying, I personally would love to see Hook in Bullet Club.
Huh. I think he's better as a lone wolf.
Yeah.
He's with Jungle Boy at the moment, but
it's got the attitude that you kind of might want from it, but I agree. I agree. I could see it, though, you know. Sheldon Jackson says, questions I have about Bullet Club Gold. Is this an AEW idea with New Japan Pro Wrestling's blessing? And who has the final say about who joins Bullet Club Gold? Either Tony Khan or Gedo. I don't believe that New Japan Pro Wrestling has any say into what goes into Bullet Club Gold. I think it's just...
It does seem like a separate faction, but surely it is their intellectual property.
Yeah, I think they're fine with them using it like that. But like David Finlay went out and said, like, whatever is on another show, that's not Bullet Club. This is Bullet Club. You know? So I would have to imagine this is a Tony Khan creation and everything, and it's unrelated. Like, I don't think they necessarily had say into like Ace Austin or whoever joined Bullet Club in Impact, you know, a year or two ago either. But that's just me speculating. We've got Scott Young saying, the fact that CM Punk's first match back is a trios match and not against the Elite is an embarrassment. The fact that 5 grown men can't talk about their problems is beyond a joke. And another issue that no one is really talking about is Tony. Well, this is a very large point of discussion that I feel like we've talked about to death over the last 9 months or so. Listen... I want to see the match. I'll read the rest of it because it goes on. He says, he doesn't have the personality to be a leader of a massive wrestling company full of massive egos. I'll ask you this. How different would that presser have gone if Punk was sat next to Triple H or Vince? Punk would have been dragged out by his earlobe if he ranted. Well, that would never happen because he quit. He wouldn't work for those people because he decided not to. He got sick of them too. You know, like... CM Punk is a very interesting individual with a very big personality, and in some ways he's perfect for pro wrestling. In some ways he's not fit for pro wrestling with the other personalities that go along with it. I want to see that match too.
Mhm.
I want to see the Elite and CMFTR in a trios match for sure. I have heard people say that the Young Bucks have told them that the period of time last year between All Out and Full Gear was the worst period of time of their lives.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be upset at them for not wanting to work with the guy that put them in that position. I'm simply not. Their feelings about that situation does not trump me wanting to see a match. That's how I feel about it. I'd still very much like to see a match. If they did work it out, I think that's totally fine. But if you looked at it like any other workplace and not just, oh, it's a wrestling locker room. Oh, get along, work it out, make money. I can't imagine that, like, there's no way anybody else would ever have a job the way that things went down if it was another kind of line of work. So, I don't know. Perspective is weird on this one. Your thoughts?
I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
No, I think, it's difficult to compare it to sort of British employment laws, but everyone would have been dismissed, I imagine. Because you had a fight, it's gross misconduct. But they're independent contractors, whatever, EVPs. You can reconcile these things. It never was strictly public either. I know the press conference was, but what in theory what went on in the locker room, no one knows, and no one will talk about it.
It was all work.
But I must say, I don't think. I think the way it seems to have been dealt with, which is we'll just put everyone on this show and hope it doesn't bust up again. If I was in Tony's position, because I run this company and that something similar was happening here, that to me it's just kicking the can down the road.
I mean, I agree with that.
So
I didn't really touch on the Tony Khan element of things.
Yeah.
It's like, if he was a little bit more iron-fisted, kind of a boss, would things be different? Maybe, but if he was, maybe CM Punk wouldn't have signed with AEW in the first place.
Be a different company.
It would be a different company entirely. William Rosmer says, so Orange Cassidy is only like 3 defenses behind Roman in about a quarter of the time. When do we acknowledge the Tropicana Chief?
The Tropicana Chief. Oh, keep the belt on him a little bit longer then.
Yeah, just so we can do that. That's very good. Kevin says, does MJF defend his title against his own insecurities? Not having a family against Bryan, not having a mentor against the Pillars, and now not getting respect. I like when he said he had the best singles dog collar match, paying respect to Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, that was a subtle bit of baby face work in there that was really well packaged. Yeah, I think that's what makes Max such a good character. He's and Hangman Page as well, I would argue. It's always... the biggest enemy is himself. Yeah. It's really compelling.
Yeah. I mean, I love an insecure character. That to me is so interesting. And I mean, who better in wrestling right now than this guy? Nick Smith says, at All In 1, Cody Rhodes won the NWA title. How would you feel about All In 2, opening with Dustin Rhodes winning the NWA title, and for the last run of his career holding the same title his dad and brother held? I would feel great about it if the NWA if it wasn't run by Billy Corgan and the champion was not Tyrus.
It's a beautiful idea, though.
Yeah, like if in a perfect world, yeah, I think that would be great. If Nick Aldis was still champion, having beaten Cody and held it for 4 years or however long it would have been, I think that would be a really fun idea. But as it stands, NWA can kick rocks. Streamlabs has lost a name here, so make sure you send in your name to the mods and we'll get it read out. I like Forbidden Door, the show, but not how we get there. It's a glorified super show. Well, can you glorify a super show? It seems pretty super. Yeah. That should not affect the weekly product. Maybe make it a faction/team draft type event. Winning faction team gets or will compete in a final free-for-all for title shots. I know it's a long shot, but having a fake face Punk for a couple of weeks to then be part of Don's family with FTR to enter the Elite feud would be fun. I hope he does not go into an MJF feud because Tony booked it originally. AEW level up Flash in Chicago. I don't vibe with a lot of it. Gotta be honest. I mean, Forbidden Door is a show that is built for me. I am the happiest little sausage on the planet because we're going to get Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. And I can understand the idea where, like, on one hand, it's sort of like, okay, we've reached June, like Survivor Series, where it's like we have to force in brand versus brand stuff. I get that, but it's also really fun. And we're going to get great matches out of it.
I think Survivor Series is the best comparison as opposed to a Super Show, because your overarching stories do have to take a bit of a pause to accommodate building into promotional matches.
Do we have any of those right now, though? It doesn't feel like anything is really being paused.
Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite is probably the major storyline. Well, it is on pause, though, because really now it's Danielson versus Okada and Omega versus Ospreay, and that will be sort of the focus for 3 weeks. I suppose they're wrestling next week, the Hung Bucks. But it does feel like a bit of a diversion. But last year I was very against that because I felt it wasn't being done well at all. I think it's being done well currently as of Sunday's Dominion and through this. I'm very happy with how it's going.
I'm excited for it. Graham Shaw says, when Tony Khan announced the Collision main event, my first thought was Punk, new Bullet Club leader, and I was in. Then the Ass Boys joined Bullet Club, and I'm on the fence. Also, Forbidden Door, fingers crossed for LIJ versus House of Black. House Rules Takagi Triad rule added. Don't know what that would mean. I'm a fake fan, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know if there's stuff with LIJ because there's CMLL things that bar people from being involved. I don't know if they're one of them. Because I think, like...
Naito wasn't on it last year.
Naito wasn't on it last year. I think he was originally supposed to work with, like, Andrade or something. Maybe I have that wrong. But I know Teton is in LIJ now. And he was a CMLL guy. I think he's a New Japan guy now. But, I don't know. I also want Hiromu to be in a singles match, but that's just me.
Isn't the triad match the match with the 3 different... Like, you have to win... It's kind of a 3 stages of hell match that they've done a few times this year.
Maybe.
Can't remember.
I'm a fake fan. Philip says, hey guys, Bullet Club ass, name of your next sex pay-per-view. Aside, Mr. Davis, how do you feel about FTR Punk? Is it your literal dream come to life? Hashtag Jeff that Jarrett. Hashtag buy that book.
No, because Jeff Jarrett and CM Punk would be the best version. Or Jeff Jarrett and FTR. A lot of people keep coming to me like, oh, but I bet you're so happy. And this was particularly last week when Punk's name was literally announced. And I really, really am like, cool. Yeah. I just like when he comes back, I'll probably get excited again. But it's been a long 9 months.
Yeah.
And I know I project the he did nothing wrong thing, but of course it's a hugely complicated thing. And it is very draining to be a CM Punk fan. Because I'm a very loyal person to people. And I've been put in this position by Punk, and yeah. So yeah,
no vibe.
I just want it to work out.
Yeah, I as well. Edgar Carrasco has been a member for 17 months in a row, saying that Danielson promo calling out Okada has me hella stoked for Forbidden Door 2. Also nice to see my 2 favorite guys this morning. Hi, Oli and Tempest.
It's nice doing shows together. I was going to kick out of doing these ones.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I feel a very different dynamic with each different co-host on this show. But this is a good dynamic, and I enjoy it. I'm Just Marcus says, am I the only one who feels like Ricky Starks has been severely cooled off? Yeah. Remember when he had that amazing promo segment and match with MJF earlier this year? It was last year. And we thought he could eventually win the title. Now he just feels like another guy. Unfortunately, I agree. I do feel like he's solidly mid-card now as opposed to reaching for the main event status.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do about that, but it's a shame.
He's got it though. Like he has the thing. It was the Jericho vortex that he found himself in. Shame.
Yeah. Sheldon Jackson says, off subject, but I wonder what will happen first. Jeff Jarrett actually becoming a singles world champion again, or Ollie Davis actually sitting on the other side running the tech for a WrestleTalk podcast episode. I don't know. I'd place your bets on Jeff Jarrett.
I have run 2 streams with Dan Layton over the last 2 weeks. So you take that back.
Will Campbell says, hi guys, when MJF tore into Cole during that promo segment, I thought of that one Regal soundbite where Regal said, ooh, he cooked him. Also, a title eliminator match in AEW is the same as a championship contenders match in WWE. It just sounds cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do it properly.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the champion has lost a championship eliminator match like once. It was like the Young Bucks lost to Eddie Kingston and Penta after Double or Nothing 2021. And that's like, I think, the only time. So if you do it once out of 50 shots, like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like, you beat the champion, you should get a title match. Whereas in WWE, Shotzi and Tegan Nox beat the tag champions 3 weeks in a row, and then one half of them was fired. So, good Lord. And Will Campbell goes on to say, also as a addendum, I love the almost cheeky smirk smile that Adam Cole had on his face when Max mentioned his Twitch channel. Thought of this as a moment where Chugs momentarily broke through the facade of the character. Yeah, it could very well be. Love Chugs. Great channel. Watched him play Zelda the other day. It was nice. Another Streamlabs lost ID, so make sure you get that sent in. Cole versus MJF in a title match as the main event of the first Collision seems more interesting than a six-man with a returning Punk who won't take a loss in Chicago. I mean, MJF beat him in Chicago, but whatever.
Yeah.
And is
Twice.
MJF... Yeah. And is MJF going to have a match on Forbidden Door with a 2-week build? I think MJF should face Hiroshi Tanahashi. Considering how much he was burying New Japan Pro Wrestling and all those guys at the press conference for Double or Nothing.
You don't want Great O'Khan?
No.
MJF versus Great O'Khan?
No.
But he respects him.
That's great for him. Nah. Yeah, that sounds like a good main event for the first Collision. But they've got one booked, unfortunately. 35 Antonio says, I disagree with El Tempesto. It's Tempestissimo. Thank you. AEW is not as in-ring focused as they were just a year ago. AEW right now is the equivalent of late 2010s black and gold NXT. Also loved how Cole exposed MJF's low-hanging fruit insults as deflections to hide his insecurities. I mean, perhaps, but even still, like, I think a lot of AEW's shows are kind of booked around like we need a really solid opener and a solid main event. And I compare that more so to like what happens on Raw and SmackDown for instance, you know.
I think that's Tony's strength as well. He you get some bookers, we always think of booking as creative, but booking in its purest traditional form is matchmaking. Yeah. Put this guy against this guy. And I actually think Khan is kind of unparalleled and just going, oh, here's a match. I'm like, oh my God, I never knew I needed that one.
I mean, just look at that show where they did the Kenny and Moxley cage match, like with Phoenix against Claudio and so many different matches. Like those are to me the best episodes of Dynamite where it's just this little mini pay-per-view that you end up getting. And those are the shows that I think are best. So, yeah. Blakey says, got floor seats to the August 12th edition of Collision. My MJF pickles arrived. Today is a great day.
It took them that long. I guess they're preservatives. So,
yeah.
It took a long time to arrive.
Yeah. I don't know what the pickles thing is.
So
have them on sandwich peanut butter.
It's about 2 months ago. He's on commentary for like one of the 4 Pillars tag matches, whatever. And he's just talking about these pickles and how he's partnered with a company to bring out his own pickles. They're kosher pickles. And Taz is just chomping away going, oh my God, it's best pickles I've ever had. It was so funny. And then they released the pickles. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Suave Titan says, Orange and Darby just fought Gates of Agony last week. Gates of Agony is in Swerve's faction. This is why Darby and Swerve are connected right now, not because of their old feud. That's fine, I suppose, but...
doesn't feel very substantial.
No.
For Sting to make a lights off, lights on save.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah.
I guess it is an explanation. I just want even more of one. Simeon Morgan.
Where's the story?
Yeah, where's the story? Simeon Morgan says, passing thought, is MJF calling Cole the best world champion in that company a subtle dig at Samoa Joe for shoving him when MJF played one of the security cards for him during his reign? I'd like to think so, but probably not. But you never know. There's a few NXT champions on that roster.
Yeah, but probably is. Like, Max probably wrote that as a little detail.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's going to think that deeply about it, it'd be Max. Ben Vlarik says, I know no AEW, but Shiki forever, Baba. This is in all caps, by the way. Break everybody's back and make them humble. F the Hulk Hogan and the Tomorrow. No good jabroni. Iron Sheik, best champion. Best boner, real man, camel clutch. Make everybody humble. Screw USA, Iran #1. R.I.P. Shiki baby. Ben Vlarik also continues on to say, let's celebrate Shiki with two of my favorite quotes. Hogan, you are worse than an airport tuna sandwich, and Hulk Hogan may have been a dumb son of a bitch in the ring, but outside the ring, he was also a dumb son of a bitch. That one's my favorite. He never changed, legend R.I.P. and says, anyway, sorry lads, I had to get my Shiki tribute in there. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to Money in the Bank. Hopefully one day I can join one of these live watch parties when I have the time and money. Greetings from Belgium. Thank you very much. We hope to see all of you who are attending the Money in the Bank live event as well. Should be a lot of fun. And Mayor of Painesville, Dan, says, hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. So this podcast just happens to be so good. I got outside and walked and got distracted. And now I'm in some kind of forest I don't recognize. And, well, help.
Do we need to send out a search party?
Yeah, I don't know. Dan, retrace your steps.
You okay, Dan?
If you get seriously injured or in need of assistance, do not make that known by sending in an ultra chat to a wrestling podcast, because that could have been sent in an hour ago.
Yeah, in another country as well.
In another country.
It's important to note we are not liable for anything that now happens to Dan.
That will do it for the rest of the OmegaChats, however. So,
do we have a poll result for the... Did we do a poll for the overall rating?
I don't think we did a
poll.
I think we just
on the Bullet Club ass.
Let me check. Thumbs up, 71%. Thumbs in the middle, 27%. Thumbs down, 2%.
That is a positively reviewed show then. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here today. And loads of Omega chats as well. It's very kind of you to all send them in.
Yes, please come to Money in the Bank, where I might be defending my Jam That Championship.
Go watch the WrestleTalk News over on the WrestleTalk News channel, and go check out No Holds Board on PartsFUNknown as well, where we're both playing a wrestling board game. But for now, I've been Oli Davis. This has been Tempest. Jam That Jam.
Where's the button?
You've got it. You've got it, champ.